The last thing to talk about when you are traveling as a dancer is to prepare for the unexpected. So part of traveling and part of going to a new city or a new place is that you're going to run into situations that you're not used to. And that might be the way that club is run. It might be how you have to get to and from work. It might be the place that you're staying at, or any number of factors, right? It might be the city itself or some big event you didn't plan for that's going on. There's always going to be something that happens when you're traveling, so being prepared is sort of the best policy. And that involves a couple elements. One is tell someone that you're traveling, preferably more than one person. It's really important, especially if you're traveling by yourself, to let others know where you're going to be. And even, if you have an iPhone, use the Find My Friends, that function on your phone, and you can turn it on with one of your friends, with a parent, with whoever in your life, so that they know where you are at all times based on the location of your phone. That might sound a little bit extra, but especially if you're traveling alone and you're in a new city, that's just an important thing to think about, because you never know what kind of situations you might run into. The second thing about that is checking in regularly. So whoever you tell, like, I'm going out of town, make it a practice to call them at the end of the night or FaceTime them or whatever. It doesn't even have to be that long. It can be a text message, just something to say, I'm okay, I'm alive, everything's good, don't worry about me. Because when you're traveling, if you're gone for 5-6 days and something happens to you on day one, you want someone to be concerned about it on day one. You don't want them to be worried about it on day 6 when you don't show up back home. And if you're working at a new club, they're not going to know you, they're not going to know your patterns, they're not going to know that you're there to work 6 days. So if you don't show up, that might not raise any red flags. Having those connections, telling other people where you're going, what you're doing, is just going to make your life a lot easier, and it's going to make it very simple for someone to know if something has gone wrong and if they need to help you out. Second thing that I think is really important when you travel is to have a safety fund. So I know a lot of times we're traveling for work and we're traveling to make money, but especially if you don't feel like you're financially stable at the moment, traveling might not necessarily be the best idea. Even if your home club isn't bringing you insane amounts of money all the time, the problem with traveling when you are not financially secure is that traveling is a gamble. Traveling is a high-risk situation that might bring high reward. And high risk, that sounds a little bit overblown, I love traveling. I think it's super valuable, and it makes you a lot, it can improve your hustle a whole lot. It can be a lot of fun. And I've personally never had issues with safety or with, I haven't had a trip that was just like all negative and I didn't make money and it was, I went home in the red. But the fact is that I had situations on different trips that were uncomfortable, or that I needed to get out of, or that I felt like, wow, I need to go, or I need to recheck my strategy. And the way to do that often involves money. So you don't want to be in a different town without resources, without the ability to change hotel or the ability to go back home if you don't like the situation where you're at, because that puts you in a bad place. And so just something to consider is having a safety fund, and that should be both during your trip and it should be for when you get back home. So a lot of times we think of travel as just from, you just need to worry about the few days that you're out of town, but that's really not true. If you're not in a financially strong position, what happens is you take the trip, you have this expectation, oh, I'm going to make X amount of money, I'm going to come back and it's going to be really good. And then say you don't make it, and say you actually lose money on the trip, right? After you pay for the hotel, the Ubers, the food, the house fees, the outfit you didn't plan on buying because your outfit wasn't up to the, the idea of the club. So you come back in the red. Well, that doesn't just affect the trip, right? It's not like just you lost money then. It's now you have to go back to work, you have to go back to your regular life, and you might still be dealing with those consequences, right? If rent is due in 3 days and you just took a trip, now, that time where you could have been home and you could have been making a little bit of money and improving a little bit, now you're down in the red, and now you have to go back in and really, really hustle. And that's a difficult position to put yourself in. So being prepared, having a fund for your trip, and then also having a fund for when you get back and the next round of bills or obligations that's going to come after your trip, super important, makes it so much more fun, and you're just going to be more relaxed. You're going to get to enjoy it, right? If you want to take the night off to go explore the new city, or you find an opportunity, or you make some friends, you want to be able to experience that and to enjoy it without only having to focus on the number. The last thing I want to say about planning for a trip and planning for the unexpected would be that if you're traveling for work, try to make it long enough so that you can really get to know the club and get to know your earning potential there. So sometimes when dancers travel, they'll go for 2 or 3 days or even for a night and then come back and say, this is how this club worked, this is what was bad about it, or this is why I couldn't make money there, and now I'm done. And a lot of times, you know, you might have just shown up on the wrong night, you might have shown up on a slower part of the season, a slower part of the year. You generally don't get to know a club and the management and the earning potential there in 1 to 2 days. I usually, if I'm traveling for work, try to do at least 2 weeks somewhere if my goal is to bring in as much income as possible from that club. I usually plan for about 2 weeks at least, and I try to work almost every day, if not every day. The reasons for that are, one, I'm taking time out of my life, out of the rent that I've already paid, the car insurance I've paid, the health insurance I've paid back home, to go somewhere else, and all of those are expenses on top of my travel expenses. So if I'm there to work, I'm there to work, right? And taking 2 or 3 days to a new club in a new area can be really difficult to make a profit. Now there's a caveat to that. If you know that you like a club and you know you feel comfortable with how the club operates and you feel comfortable that you can make money in 2 to 3 days, by all means go for it. You know, that's one of my favorite things to do. If I find an area that I really like, I'll usually go there for weekends or go there for a few days of the week pretty regularly just to work for 2 days and then go back home. And that's totally fine, but when you're first starting at a club, taking the time to build those connections, to get to know the management, get to know the DJ, get to know their entertainers, and get to know how the club really runs, that can earn you a lot of money, because then when you come back again, you already have those connections. You feel like you can sort of walk back in and be part of a team that's working together to earn money, instead of just feeling like, you know, you just showed up and you were expecting all of this to be handed to you. So creating the time to get to know a club, creating the time to make it an experience and really enjoy it can be really valuable. And it also can make you connections, so that the next time you travel, maybe you have some friends that you can hook up with, maybe they can come travel and hang out with you, and you guys can sort of build those relationships and build those possibilities for future trips to make some money and hopefully have lots of success on the road. So I hope that those tips helped. That's obviously not everything that there is to know about traveling, but those are some of the most valuable tools that I can think to share with you. And if you like that, if you're looking for more information or content, feel free to subscribe to the channel. There's lots more information about dancing, everything from auditions to getting more VIP rooms to dealing with coworkers and avoiding drama. There's information on the channel on that. And if you like the content, also feel free to subscribe to the website. It's rackstoriches.com. There you'll find a ton of articles, a lot more information, and lots of video content to keep you learning and keep you moving forward. Hope you enjoyed and that you have a great night.